the Municipal Administration Center beginning at 5 o'clock on February 14th, 2024. With roll call, Deputy Mayor Clark,
Present.
Councillor Blackwell,
Present.
Councillor Kavanaugh,
Present.
Councillor Hinchberger,
Present.
Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Prenger,
Present.
Councillor Steinoff Gray,
Present.
Councillor Stewart,
Present.
and I'd like to acknowledge our CAO and clerk at the front desk, as well as various members of our municipal staff supporting our meeting this evening. Councillor Hinchberger, please.
We would like to begin by acknowledging that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which includes the Chippewas of Nawash Unceded First Nation and the Chippewas of Saugeen First Nation, whose ancestors were the first to inhabit, care for, and live on this land. We recognize and deeply appreciate the contributions that Indigenous peoples have made, both in caring for this land and shaping and strengthening this community, our province, and our country. As a public service organization, we're dedicated to learning and acknowledging Indigenous history and culture, and are committed to actions that move us towards a journey of truth, healing, and reconciliation with the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, the Métis Nation of Ontario, and the historic Saugeen Métis.
Are there any amendments, additions, or deletions to or from the agenda that council would like to propose? Councillor Blackwell?
Thank you. Through you, I'm wondering whether we are doing, there was an email from our clerk about adding 2 items, which are for airport hangar leases.
Yes, the clerk had brought those to my attention. So thank you for that. To clarify that, there is a consideration of a bylaw. It'll be assigning existing airport hangar lease per the existing agreements and our so there is that a motion we need?
Yeah.
Okay. So you'd like to make that a motion, wouldn't you?
Yes, I would. I'd like to add those to the agenda. Thank you.
Seconded by Councillor Kavanaugh. Any discussion? And all in favor? That's carried. Once again, I'd like, just as far as a procedural issue, we have a closed session meeting scheduled with our lawyer at 6:30. So we will take a bio break at 6:25. And we'll have our closed session. And then if there are any items on the open agenda, we'll return to those following. I'd like to remind any council members to disclose the pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof now or as it arises in the meeting. And I need, as we continue, we need a mover and seconder that the minutes of the regular and special council meetings held on January 24, 2024 and January 29, 2024 be adopted as printed. Moved by councillors Hinchberger and Blackwell. Any discussion? All in favor? Those are carried. And we move into our public meeting section. We have 3 items under matters for public participation. One is regarding a minor variance, a committee of adjustment meeting. We also have 2 public meetings, one regarding our community improvement plan and one regarding a planning report for a rezoning. If there's any members of the public who would like to be continued to be informed of these items, there is a sheet on the table just outside the council doors here. This evening, sometime when you got here, as you're leaving, if you'd like to be kept in the loop, so to speak, please sign your name, give us our contact information, and our staff will make sure that you are informed of the decisions and events. All right, so we move into the committee of adjustment. So we need a mover and seconder that we move into committee of adjustment and upon completion return to council. Moved by councillors Kavanaugh and Deputy Mayor Clark. All in favor? That's carried. So I'd like to call to order the Committee of Adjustment meeting at the Municipality of Kincardine at 5:04 in the council chambers. Once again, disclose any pecuniary interest now or as it arises. We have the adoption of minutes. Need a mover and seconder that the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment from November 8, 2023 to be adopted as printed, moved by Councillors Hinchberger and Steinoff Gray. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. So we have a minor variance application from ES Fox 5568 Highway 9. And we would ask Planner Wellwood to explain the report and recommendations, please. That's not you, but that's okay.
Right. Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the application before you is a proposal to expand a legal non-conforming use. The proposal itself is a 1,500 meter, roughly, square meter addition to an existing warehouse facility in Millerton. The warehouse is not permitted in the C3 Hamlet Highway Commercial Zone, but the facility did predate the most recent comprehensive review of the zoning bylaw in 2012, and the applicant's solicitors confirmed the legal non-conforming. So under the Planning Act, there are two tests for an expansion to a legal non-conforming use, whether it's desirable for appropriate development of the lands and whether it would result in undue adverse impacts to neighboring uses. So in considering those two tests, the warehouse use is permitted in the official plan. There are no sensitive land uses to the rear where the expansion is proposed. The applicant has provided a report outlining stormwater management, servicing, site grading, as well as an archaeological report demonstrating that would be appropriate for development of the land. And finally, MTO was satisfied that access can be provided from Side Road 10 as opposed to Highway 9. Given the above, staff are of the opinion that the proposal satisfies those two tests of the Planning Act. It meets the provincial policy statement and the county official plan, and that we recommend the application be approved. But I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you for that presentation. There's a bit of a process we'll go through, but we will get back to the questions in a minute. So there is opportunity for the applicant to make presentation. Is there anyone here from ES Fox that would like to speak to this application? If you'd like to, just come to the microphone and give your name, please, sir.
My name is Bill Stark. I'm construction lead on the project at the warehouse in Millerton. What was laid out here is pretty well straightforward. We're going to expand the warehouse, clean the building up, new siding, new roof, new entrance from the side road there, and make the building look a lot nicer and continue on with the existing function. Basically to receive material that's going to Bruce Power for upgrades over the next several years. It's basically shipping and receiving. There's no work being done at the warehouse. It's just basically a shipping, receiving, QA, quality control. That's the function there. Is that?
Very good. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Are there any presentations from any member of the public? Is there any presentations from any member of the public? Seeing none, we move to questions from any council member. Any questions of the application? Seeing none, we need a mover and seconder that the Committee of Adjustment approve the minor variance from ES Fox for the property described as 5568 Highway 9 to permit 1,486 square meter expansion of the warehouse in the rear yard. Moved by Councillor Steinoff Gray and Blackwell. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. Thank you for your continued presence in our municipality. Pass on our congratulations to your company. All right. Need a mover and seconder that the Committee of Adjustment meeting adjourn at 5:09. Councillors Kavanaugh and Prenger. All in favor? That's carried. We return to our open meeting in our general council meeting. We're moving on to our community improvement plan, the public meeting, the legislated public meeting that we are to have. So we need a mover and seconder that, subject to a review of submissions arising from this public meeting, that council adopt a new community improvement plan and areas for the municipality of Kincardine and the necessary bylaws be forwarded to council for adoption. Moved by councillors Kavanaugh and Hinchberger. And at this point, I would like to invite our Manager of Economic Development, Sherry Leslie, to lead the discussion here this evening. Not so much our Manager of Strategic Initiatives.
Through you, Mayor Craig. I'm just going to do a little bit of an intro and then I'm going to pass it over to Sherry and to Jeff. Staff have been working with Bruce County's economic development staff to create a new community improvement plan that aligns with the enhanced Spruce the Bruce and provides a greater range of incentives that could support more priority areas like improvements to our downtowns, affordable attainable housing, industrial and highway commercial, business park development, and the agricultural sector. The draft CIP was brought forward to council for review in November 2023 before we submitted it to the province. The Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing has since reviewed the draft CIP and has had no concerns. And we had a really quick response, which was awesome. A public meeting is required under the Planning Act prior to the CIP being adopted by council, and that's kind of where we're at. And I'm going to turn it over to Sherry Leslie, our Economic Development Coordinator, and Jeff Loney, the Economic Development Manager for Bruce County. But just before I do that, I do really want to acknowledge and thank the work that both Sherry and Jeff have done. And in particular, Jeff, acknowledge your expertise to help us navigate the CIP process. I think we had such a great response with the province, partially because of your expertise in this matter. So thank you. So I'm turning over to Sherry.
Thanks, Lori. And just to reiterate a little bit from our last update to council on our CIP program, we do currently have a CIP in place. It's again only focused in downtown Kincardine, which allows businesses to access facade grants, signage grants, all through the county. Our new proposed CIP also includes downtown Tiverton. And so we've been working with the businesses in the community there to do some work around our facade guidelines and the community branding, so that if this is approved, then we can move forward so that businesses there could also be eligible for funding. We do have quite a vast array of programs in the proposed CIP, and it's important to note that we wouldn't have to implement all of those. We could pick and choose, kind of review annually what priorities council has, and staff would come forward with a report identifying what the priorities we feel are the best priorities for the upcoming year, and make some budget recommendations for implementation. And I guess with that, if this is approved, staff will be presenting that follow-up report to council in, I guess, the next little while. And I'll pass it over to Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you, Sherry, and through you, Mayor Craig. Bruce County has been excited to participate with the municipality of Kincardine in redevelopment of this community improvement plan. This is one of 7 community improvement plans across the county that are going through this process, but this one is uniquely developed for Kincardine. CIPs have been a historical tool that municipalities have put in place to help drive investment, to look at downtown revitalization, and the tool you have in front of you represents both of those things. Recently, the Minister of Economic Development was quoted saying municipalities who are ready for investment and have the ability to manage things through tools like a community improvement plan put themselves well ahead in that race for new investment. The program in front of you has expanded, as Sherry mentioned, and it includes the entire municipality now, and it gives you that opportunity to use these tools while you need them, but doesn't behold you to actually approve any of these incentives. The three buckets now contained within them include pre-development and development incentives. These are things like tax increment financing, reduction of municipal rates, and other powerful tools during that development process that you can choose to use. These also allow Bruce County to participate in a number of these programs, and those programs are outlined in section 5.3.1 of this document. Secondly, you have your building and property incentives. These are your more classical downtown revitalization tools, looking at things like the support of signage, the support of facades, and other more specialized programs targeting accommodations or agricultural uses. Last but not least, in section 5.3.3, you have the Spruce the Bruce grants. These are the grants and incentives that are provided directly by the County of Bruce. What this update will allow you to do is to access the four newest grants, which include agricultural innovation. It includes tourism support for businesses outside of your core areas. It also includes residential for buildings that are mixed use and have the opportunity to intensify their residential, as well as accessibility grants for businesses across your municipality. The next steps in this process is if this bylaw is approved tonight, it will go through the typical planning process. On notification of approval, you have a 20-day appeal period. If an appeal is taken during that time, it will go through your LPAT processes similar to any planning application. If no appeal is seen, what you're going to see is this come into force and effect. From both a county and a municipal perspective, that means 20 days following that approval, if no appeal is in place, these incentives can be used at any time. I think I will leave it there, and I know I'm happy to answer any questions from yourselves or from the public if they arise.
Thank you, Lori, Sherry, and Jeff. We read the report, extensive, informative. I can't imagine the amount of time that was invested in creating it. It's way longer than the time it took to read it. So thank you so much for what you've done in that regard. All right, so at this point, we have opportunity to hear any presentations from the public regarding the CIP bylaw that's being presented this evening. Are there any presentations from the public? No. Yes, sir. Thank you. Just state your name and for the record, and welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. I'll give you a very brief of who I am. My name is James McCurry. I'm a resident of Inverhuron. I'm here tonight to represent both myself and my family as property owners in Inverhuron, and also to give a very brief description and on behalf of PWEP, the Philosopher's Well Environmental Preserve. We have submitted some documentation to both Council as well as Bruce County to do with the CIP. And if the council will allow, I'll read some very brief statements. You should all have had copies of these. I know that the county has, and we sent them to Jennifer Laurie as well. I'm going to concentrate this evening on how the CIP may or may not affect the residents of Inverhuron, development in Inverhuron, and some of our general concerns about that. We're not opposed in any way to a CIP in general. The understanding that if you want to improve businesses, access to businesses, storefronts, so on and so forth, we think that's a really good idea for the municipality and most of the residents as a whole. However, I'll read a prepared statement. As I say, you should all have had a copy of this. It was forwarded by a woman by the name of Tessa Gerling, who is a director of PWEP. Very basically, my background is I'm a licensed construction boilermaker. I have 43 years in the field of heavy construction, or approximately 75,000 field hours. The last 13 years I've spent at Bruce Power. My background in heavy construction goes across all industries. That would be petrochemicals, refining, conventional generation, as well as nuclear generation. So I'll read where we have some concerns about the draft CIP, and I'll make some references. I'm not going to read the entire document because I understand that my time is somewhat limited. So PWEP is the Philosopher's Role Environmental Preserve. It is a private NGO. We are a nonprofit organization. We have formed from a local group, and our basic concern is overdevelopment or forced development in the Inver-Huron area and why we have concerns about that. So our first concern would be pre-development and development incentives, which is draft plan of CIP page 12. These incentives seem to be aimed at encouraging and streamlining development. This kind of incentive program strikes us as premature in an area where land designation is being contested, as is the case for Inver-Huron. Generally, PWEP is opposed to this type of high-density, large-scale development typical of primary or secondary settlement areas for Inver-Huron, due to environmental, planning, and community concerns, amongst other issues. Furthermore, putting in place a new settlement designation or a development incentive as outlined in the draft CIP is an understanding that a capacity study must be conducted for Inver-Huron. This is in reference to Bruce County Official Plan 4.7.6, page 53 states. The settlement capacity shall be prepared in support of a local official plan or an amendment where significant development is proposed or where settlement area designation is proposed to be expanded or where significant health and welfare considerations need to be addressed. Such local official plan amendment shall be prepared in conformity with the conclusions and recommendations of the settlement capacity. Municipalities are encouraged to prepare a comprehensive settlement capacity study where significant development is proposed. So we ask that an assessment of the appropriate type and level of servicing necessary to support future growth and development, including financing, phasing, and administrative requirements. An analysis of the hydrology and the hydrogeology to determine the capability of the surface and groundwater resources to provide sufficient quantity and quality of water supply and to accept various types of sewage effluent. Where municipal services exist.
Mr. McCreary?
Yes.
We're talking about the plan itself, and if you could keep the comments focused on the benefits or the from what you see as perhaps some negative outcomes of the CIP. We're fully aware of the environmental challenges, but if you could draw our attention to what you see as the challenges, you know, rather than reading the official plan, which we are able to the narrower the comments, the easier it is for us to understand the challenges you're facing there, please, sir.
Perfect. So as previously stated, number one primary is a pre-development and development incentive, and our concerns to do with that. We also have a concern about the surplus land program. And the surplus land program, which is draft CIP, page 15, PWEP is concerned that lands in Inver-Huron, which the municipality may wish to declare as surplus, could potentially be slated for development before the issues enumerated in a previous point has been addressed. According to our understanding, surplus land can be acquired at little or no cost. Therefore, this program could potentially end up incentivizing large-scale development, which PWEP and the vast majority of residents of Inver-Huron are adamantly opposed to, as you're well aware, Mr. Mayor. We would like to learn to what specific plans the municipality may currently have for declaring lands in Inver-Huron surplus and be kept informed of these plans as they evolve in a timely manner, so that PWEP and the community may weigh on these decisions. We would like to take the opportunity to remind Council that PWEP is still awaiting a response from the municipality and the county with regards to questioning pertaining to Inver-Huron's land use designation, which is attached on Schedule A. We have attached a PWEP statement of concern regarding the land use designation for Inver-Huron submitted to the municipality and the county, and we have not heard a response back either from the county or the municipality. So our concerns essentially are that, without getting into either of the developments that we're contesting, one is in courts, we won't speak to that. Sundance is upcoming. There has been documentation released through IDRA and through PWEP and through our councillor, Mr. Stewart. There are serious concerns about forcing development on Inver-Huron. Again, the CIP in general and its general intent of what I'm understanding council is attempting to do to improve storefronts, recreational parks, facilities, so on and so forth, both in Tiverton and Kincardine, we're not opposed to. Our opposition has been and continues and will continue to be the fact that if you're trying to force large-scale development on a very small rural area whose infrastructure is not set up to support this, we have serious concerns about that. So again, pre-development and development incentives, as well as the surplus land, are our two primary concerns that we've seen with the CIP. We feel in general, that the residents of Inverhuron are not consulted enough about this. I know that Councillor Stewart does support us, and to a certain degree, so does Steinhoff Gray. What we need to know is what are the exact plans as uses for CIP. Primary concern to me personally, based on the 2015, 2016 sewer fiasco, is these grants would allow Kincardine Municipal Council to force a sanitary sewer system on Inverhuron, which would enhance your ability to create development, large-scale development in particular. My concern personally about that, and PWEP's concern and the concerns of the Inverhuron residents, are when the sanitary sewer system came up between 2008 and 2015, there was a huge discussion of what went on. Council felt at the time you could put sewers in there using a grinder pump system so that you could enhance development in the area for about $3 million. I demanded an independent engineering survey in 2015, which was done by a subsidiary of SNC Lavalin, and we found out that that sanitary sewer system would actually cost the municipality between $16 and $18 million. Those are in 2016 dollars. An attempt,
Mr. McCurry,
yes.
we're talking about the CIP and not so much about the sanitary sewer cost or installation. So just
Again, I'm trying to keep it as narrow as possible. I understand exactly where you're going.
narrow, squeeze a little tighter, please,
100%.
sir.
Again, my concern is that the CIP, as it affects Inverhuron directly, the CIP would make available large sums of grant money that could easily force vast, large-scale subdivision-type developments on Inverhuron. We are adamantly opposed to those type of developments. The infrastructure does not exist. I think we've all seen the last 7% tax increase that came out. If these land use designations, which you can use this CIP to easily do to force large-scale development on the lower and upper Inverhuron area, it will be an absolute fiasco and disastrous from an environmental point of view. Those are our primary concerns. So rather than me read from any more prepared statements, why don't I take questions from council?
Thank you for your presentation. We will continue with the process, and if there are any questions, they will be addressed your way, Mr. McCurry. Thanks very much for coming tonight.
Will it be possible to, since this is a public meeting, there is one other statement I'd like to read. I'd like to allow other people to speak before the mic rather than hog the mic for more than my 5 minutes. So I can come back up. Council's choice.
Okay, so we have received this, the other statement that you would like to present, Mr. McCurry?
You have
is that
this,
the one? Is that the one that was distributed through council?
The secondary statement with the statement of concern, RE Inverhuron land designation use, and this was sent to council as well as Bruce County on the 11th of January.
So that is, thank you for offering that, but that is significantly outside the conversation regarding CIP. Each one of the council members did read it. I'm expecting if it was circulated. So I would offer that that's not an appropriate presentation at this time, Mr. McCreary. Thank you for that.
Could you explain to me then, Mr. Mayor, exactly how, since this is about the community improvement plan, which does allow land designation changes and it's a bylaw that could easily affect that, why I'm not being allowed to read that into the record for the public?
Well, 2 reasons. First off, it already is a public document because we received it, and as has our clerk, so it's already a public document. And secondly, we're talking about the and I'm going to offer Mr. Loney the opportunity to comment here too, in case I'm wandering off as well. But the CIP is a program that is used to offer, just as you've commented, incentives for construction, for business enhancement. It doesn't talk to land designations in that effect. So, Mr. Loney, is that actually we're going to hold this question for when we get to the question period, and we'll talk about it then. Once again, Mr. McCreary, thanks for coming, and those are the 2 statements that you had wanted to present to council.
They are. I haven't presented the second statement, so I've presented 1 statement. Can I have confirmation from Ms. Laurie that she has received both these documents?
Yeah. absolutely. Thank you very much, sir. Are there any other comments from the public? Any other comments from the public? All right, questions or clarifications from council? Before we get to that, I'd like to have Mr. Loney just confirm. Have you received a copy of the statement that the Philosophers Will Environmental Group sent us, or were you aware of that one already?
Thank you, and through you, yes, we have received those statements.
So can you just comment broadly whether or not those would affect our decision in any regard this evening, please, sir?
Through you, I'll pick up on the ability to change land designations. Community improvement plan is developed, and the what is contained within it is outlined in the Planning Act. It does not allow the community improvement plan to make changes to anything else contained within the Planning Act, and as such has no authority over other planning matters, including many of those discussed today.
So an application would have to go through the prescribed application processes, the Planning Act, and the CIP stands outside any of those applications. Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other questions, comments from council members regarding what we've heard this evening? Councillor Steinhoff Gray, please.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Because just one of the comments that you said, because it would help, I think, bring calm. You had mentioned that we have discretionary ability to decide what we want to do through this program. So just approving this program doesn't necessarily mean that it's holistic, I guess. We can choose focus areas. I guess I'm trying to understand how that gets, how I guess I get to that level of openness without coming off as being unfair. If someone's applying and I have this written CIP and they see the application and I say, actually, we're not focusing on that right now. I just have a concern when we could have people seeking application and then obviously denying them. I'd like to better understand what you meant by our ability to itemize the plan.
And through you, Mr. Mayor, the opportunity that exists within a community improvement plan is always there. So anything that has been included in this plan gives the municipality the ability to action it. What that means is that you also do not have to action any of those items. There's a number of ways as a municipality that you can handle that process through prioritization, through council setting what grants may be available. Essentially, you have many different ways that pick and choose how and when you use these items. Unlike most policies that behold the municipality to do something, a community improvement plan gives you the opportunity to do something and the opportunity to not do something. So I would have to defer to Kincardine staff on how that prioritization will be undertaken, but I will note that every municipality that has and operates a community improvement plan has to make additional decisions through policy and prioritization about how and when they choose to use incentives.
Councillor Henchberger, please.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I'd just like to follow up on your line of thinking with the question to Mr. Loney that in spite of what may be written in a community improvement plan, it doesn't usurp the authority of the Planning Act and any of the processes within it, whether that would be to revise the official plan and land designations therein or a specific Planning Act application. And there would remain in each of those parts of those processes opportunity for public consultation and input on any changes that might be proposed. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Councillor Kavanaugh, please.
Thank you very much. And through the chair, I just want to say thank you for the time and effort that staff has put into this and making this a reality. We've seen the benefits firsthand with downtown Kincardine and how it has benefited from the community improvement plan that exists there. And I really look forward to seeing how we can target that into the village of Tiverton as well and how they can benefit from one going forward.
If I might offer just a slight aside from that, we saw a presentation at County Council last time, the effects of the Spruce to Bruce program in particular. And when you put all the slides, the before and after pictures, the change in community is remarkable when opportunities like these are offered and expanded within a community. Councillor Blackwell, please.
Thank you. Through you, I just wanted to kind of piggyback on that comment. I went to a fantastic session at a conference, and they spoke about the impact of CIPs. And in the town of Minto, they were talking for every dollar that they invested in their CIP, they got at least 4 back in economic development and enhanced properties. So I'm really excited about this. I am also excited to see that it's expanding. I'm also very excited that we're going to be eligible for the accessibility grant going forward. I think that that will be something that, if that's chosen as one of our priority areas, partnering with the Bruce. So thank you very much for your work on this.
Councillor Stewart, please.
Let me get unmuted. Thank you very much. And through you, Mayor, I've been participating in all the basically public meetings, and Sherry, Laurie, you did a great job in putting the plan together. I do have a concern. I do have some comments. Schedule B sort of scares me. You know, when you start talking about the summary of development and pre-development incentives, you're starting to talk about tax dollars. You're starting to talk about reductions of development fees. This is fairly new to us. The existing Kincardine CIP had nothing to do with this part of this. So Schedule B, we have experienced in the past some problems with Sobeys, you know, beside Sobeys and the land beside no frills with putting investment in and not seeing returns. So I'm just sort of coaching the council that I know that we have the final say, but we're going to have to tread lightly when it comes to Schedule B. They can be very costly very quickly.
Just a comment, CAO, please.
Sure, through you, Mayor. Just to reiterate and highlight for the public and for council, something that was mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, there will be a report that staff prepared that identify some considerations about where you might want to focus your efforts. So with respect to the funding, again, we had that discussion during the budget deliberations. Their council has opted to have some funds in there. There may be years in which the budget deliberations determine that there aren't going to be funds for CIPs in that particular year, but having the CIP available still will make it available to potential county grants. So having that open is still a useful and beneficial thing for the businesses, but it is something that we are coming back with, depending on the outcome of tonight's meeting, with considerations for council to determine where they want to focus and a process by which applications can be reviewed.
Oh, Councillor Stewart, I'm sorry. Yep.
Sorry, no. Through you, Chair. I just wanted to tell the public, even if council approves this tonight, there's a 20-day appeal period. Is that not correct? Could I maybe talk to Laurie? So there's still another 20-day appeal period after, if we decide to approve it tonight, for the public to make comments. Thank you.
Not so much comments, Councillor Stewart. It would be an appeal of the bylaw that we would be addressing. So
thank you very much.
Yeah, good point. Well taken, though. Councillor Steinhoff-Gray, please.
Thank you, through you, Chair. This may be the wrong question. I'm going to ask it of our CAO. Apologies up front. I think that maybe if we were, I don't want to confuse this plan that's before us with potentially having like a secondary settlement plan to address some of the concerns that are being raised. So I actually see it as maybe 2 streams. If you could give me some guidance on where we are with pursuing a secondary settlement plan, that would be helpful.
So that question has nothing to do with the conversation regarding CIPs. Yeah. It was correctly pointed out by Mr. Loney and Councillor Hinchberger that the CIP is stands outside and alone, different from the zoning or land use applications. So it's just a totally different thing. Councillor Blackwell, please.
Thank you. Through you, I just wanted to clarify a little bit. Council will have the option through that report coming back to identify what areas we're interested in, but ultimately it will be up to staff to assess and approve applications.
Go ahead.
Through you, it depends on the process council determines. So in some cases, particularly in the initial phases, it may be a committee that is struck, which includes members from council. Many times it's staff, but it will depend on what it is that council prioritizes. And then as well, that's how we would also advertise it to the community so that the applications we receive match what it is that council has prioritized.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor that we, subject to the review of submissions, council adopt a new community improvement plan and areas for the municipality of Kincardine and the necessary bylaws be forwarded to council for adoption. So we're directing staff this evening to move forward with the bylaw to be brought forward to council. Correct? Is that what that says? That's what it says to me. Okay, we're all clear with that? All in favor? Anyone opposed? And that is carried. Once again, thank you, Lori and Jeff and Sherry. We appreciate the work that's gone into it. All right, we have a planning application from Don and Diane MacArthur, 1397 Concession 9. And I need a mover and seconder that council approves zoning bylaw amendment application Z 2023-058 for Don and Diane MacArthur for 1397 Concession 9, Municipality of Kincardine, moved by councillors Blackwell and Deputy Mayor Clark. So at this point, I would like to ask Julie Steeper to explain the report and recommendation, please.
Thank you for having me this evening. The purpose of the application is to rezone the property to permit the construction of a residence on a remnant farm parcel from a previous severance that was conducted in 2014. If approved, this application would facilitate a construction of a single detached dwelling at 1397 Concession 9. The property is located east of Highway 21 and south of Concession 9 and north of Concession 7. The property is surrounded by agricultural and commercial uses. In review of the previous history and policies, staff determined that prohibiting the construction of a dwelling on the retained farmlands was unnecessary given the previous severance was for a commercial use. Staff are of the opinion the protection and restriction were not required given the circumstances. The proposed application is consistent with provincial and official plan policies. Updated hazard mapping was provided by the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority. This will result in the EP area, the Environmental Protection Designation Area, becoming larger. However, the applicant has cited the proposed residential dwelling outside the hazard area. No comments of concern were received from agencies or the public on this application, and this concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Steeper. Well presented report. Are there any comments from the applicant themselves? Okay. Are there any presentations? Are there any presentations from the public? Any presentations from anyone from the public? Seeing none. Any questions for clarification from council? Oh, Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Julie, good presentation. I'm just a little bit concerned. Are we opening up a new box here? Because we told the person back in 2014 there was no way of ever building a house, and now we're changing our mind 10 years later. Are we opening up something like Pandora's box that all these other severances and the housing away from the agricultural land, they're going to come back and ask for housing approval?
If I may, through you, Mayor, I would say this is not opening a Pandora's box. In this case, the restriction was unintentionally applied, I believe, due to the fact that there was a house and a commercial use. In this case, it was clearly identified with the previous application was for a commercial severance. I think the situation which you're speaking to is what we call surplus farm dwelling severances. This is not applied as a surplus farm dwelling severance and was pretty clear in the previous application. And so that's why in this case, the restriction is not necessarily required. And if someone were to apply for a similar severance today, that restriction wouldn't be applied in this situation.
Thanks for clarifying. Appreciate it, Julie.
Any further questions? All right, so we have mover and seconder. The council approved the zoning bylaw for the application. All in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much. All right, matters for discussion and direction. Staff reports. Kincardine Airport Operation Review. We need a mover and seconder. The council receive report operations 2024-04 for information purposes, moved by Councillors Hinchberger and Deputy Mayor Clark. Director Weiser.
Thank you, Mayor Craig. So the report essentially was prepared to provide council a summary of what we've completed from the strategic plan that was done back a number of years ago. That was completed in 2013. The majority of the work that is listed there is associated with the main runway upgrades that were done. And then certainly a few other things in consideration. The other piece that's highlighted here for council is that in 2018, an RFP was conducted for the airport service provider. And through that, the current service provider was selected. They provided us with a number of deliverables within their proposal, and so offered a summary of those highlights as well. So given the new term of council and some historical discussions around the airport, we thought it would be prudent to just give an overview and a summary of things.
Comments, questions? Keeping in mind this is for information. Okay, Councillor.
Thank you through Chair. There was one question I had, if I could, Adam, and I know it's just for information, so it's okay if you can't answer it. But there was a area that sounded like we did own some land that could have been used for extending the runways. But then in other parts, it sounded like we'd have to procure. I was actually quite confused by that passage. It sounded like we did, but we didn't. If you could just clarify, I'd appreciate it.
So through you, Mayor Craig, in order to extend the runways, we would need to obtain land. So if you were to dig into the requirements for a runway extension for the main runway, so going east and west, essentially we would have to contact the ministry and get them to resituate the location of the highway. The location of the bluff is problematic to the west, so there would be land acquisition, road relocation, and then similar if we were to extend 0523, which is your north-south runway, we would have to obtain land to the south.
All in favor of the motion? It's carried. Traffic and parking bylaw amendment. Need a mover and seconder that the amendment as set out in report operations 2024-05 be approved by council. Moved by councillors Hinchberger and Deputy Mayor Clark. Hi, Corey. Welcome. You want to comment on this, or do you just want to wait for questions?
I can wait for questions.
Questions from council members? Councillor Blackwell, please.
Thank you. Through you. I've shared a couple of my concerns around the increase in speed on some of these roads that don't have adequate sidewalks or bike lanes. And I'm just wondering if you could speak a little bit on the rationale for the proposal to increase the speed again.
Through you, Mayor, some of the areas that we're brought to our attention from the OPP around areas that could be higher than the 40 kilometers. So in essence, we didn't increase them. This is what they were previously. So we are just reverting back to what they previously were. So not increasing the speed from historical speed allotments.
Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you. And through you, Mayor. Corey, I like what you're proposing here, but the problem is, how do you enforce it? You know, it's great to have these speed limits and posting, as you're well aware of, but are the OPP planning to add more vehicles on this? Because, you know, enforcement's really the true picture here. It's great to post it, but we need to enforce it too.
Through you, Mayor, OPP are well aware of the areas of concern that we bring to them. Anytime that we do traffic counts, speed verifications, stuff like that with our radar detections, all that is given to the OPP for them to evaluate areas. They do an evaluation to see if higher patrol is needed in those areas. So we will certainly look at problematic areas along the way and pass that information along for them to evaluate, to see if they need to conduct a higher patrol in those areas.
Thank you for your comments.
All right, we have a motion in front of us to the amendments be approved by council. All in favor? Anyone opposed? And that's carried. Bruce Energy Center, potable water supply, environmental services. We need a mover and seconder that council direct staff to correspond with the Bruce Energy Center that the municipality is willing to consider an agreement between the parties to expand the planned scope of the municipal environmental assessment work related to water source options to the community of Tiverton to include potable water supply to the BEC, subject to the Bruce Energy Center fully funding the expanded scope of the investigation. Moved by councillors Kavanaugh and Blackwell. Director, please.
Thanks. Through you, Mayor Craig. Council had provided direction to staff following a delegation of Nancy Mickey from the BEC. So through that, started looking at the consideration for undertaking next steps with that project. And so one of the, I guess, gaps here is that there essentially isn't a funding mechanism. Typically, the municipality wouldn't fund review for supporting private developments and making servicing available to them. The other piece of that is that technically it would be considered bonusing under the Municipal Act. So we're coming back to council with that information and suggesting that if we are to continue with things, that we approach the group from around Farrell Drive at the BEC and get their support to financially cover the cost to undertake that review.
Questions, comments? Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you very much. And through you, Mayor, great report, Adam. I can support it 100%. Thank you.
All in favor of the motion? Any opposed? That's carried. Kincardine Kinloss Drain Tender Environmental Services. We need a mover and seconder. The council award the contract for the Kincardine Kinloss Municipal Drain Tender to Doslin Construction Corporation for the bid price of $161,075.90, including municipal share of HST. Moved by councillors Blackwell and Kavanaugh. Mark, welcome. You waiting for questions, or do you have anything to comment first?
I can wait.
Any questions for this? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Front-end agreement summary, development services. Need a mover and seconder that council receive report development services 2024-04 for information purposes. Moved by councillor Hinchberger and Prenger. Any questions regarding this report? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. MTO Russell Street and sidewalk maintenance agreements. We need a mover and seconder. The council direct staff to move forward with the execution of the Highway 21 at Russell Street legal agreement and the sidewalk maintenance agreement, and further that the mayor and clerk sign any necessary documents related to the agreement, and that council direct staff to enter into a front-ending agreement with the beneficiaries for cost recovery from the improvements, and further that council direct staff to undertake an update to the ASDC, area-specific development charge, should the property owners not be agreeable to a front-ending agreement inclusive of a budget amendment to undertake the study. Moved and seconded by Councillors Hinchberger and Prenger. Do you want to take a whirl at explaining this a bit, Director, before we get into the questions? Thank you.
Thanks, and through you, Mayor Craig. So the prior report actually was a bit of a preamble for this, and to give council a good outlay of the commitments that this term and the past term of council have made financially, and what those, you know, investments look like from a payback perspective. With respect to this here, we've been working with the MTO for their upgrades at both Russell Street and Kincardine Ave over the last few years. With Russell Street specifically, one of the components of that upgrade is to look at constructing what I refer to as the east leg, which would access the business park if Russell Street were to expand and extend to the east. The reason that discussions took place roughly 2 years ago to consider that is that we were dealing with developers at the site and looking at opportunities to, you know, to advance things within Smart Centers lands and the other ownership groups. So with that in mind, the MTO has incorporated into their costing and their design the construction of that east leg. And so what that includes is essentially a road stub to the east, as well as any of the turn lanes that would help facilitate those movements in the grand build out of that intersection, as opposed to piecemealing it in some fashion. And so the MTO requires that an agreement be entered into with a governing body, so in our case with the lower tier, and so that our arrangement is strictly between the ministry and the municipality. And then any other type of agreements that the municipality, or, you know, it could be a county or another road authority, but we would then seek financial recuperation from other beneficiaries. So the other piece of the agreement, the secondary agreement, would be for the long-term maintenance of the proposed sidewalk that would be constructed within that intersection. Similar to Durham Street, as an example, it's our sidewalk machine in the winter that comes through there and removes the snow and puts down sand and salt to make sure things are safe for pedestrian usage. And so that's the intent of that agreement, as well as if the sidewalk became damaged, that we would be responsible for repair and replacement of those sections. The funding component of things and the two components of the motion there, we're suggesting to council to direct staff to pursue a front-ending agreement with the beneficiaries. So there are two landowners that are sitting and are assigned to the current area-specific development charge. So anytime a net hectare or acre of their land develops, they would then have to pay back based on that development charge that that's been created for that site. The kicker is that we don't start recuperating those costs until they start developing those lands. So we started putting pipes in the ground back in 2020. So we're looking at, you know, three plus almost 4 years, and we've recouped minimal amounts to date. The Lakeside dealership is all that we've seen for development. And so by suggesting a front-ending agreement, what the hope of that is that we would put within the terminology within that agreement that they would have requirements to make payment at certain dates. And so an example, the Mount Forest Ave agreement that we just entered into recently with the two beneficiaries, developers there, they're required to pay the municipality their portions of those costs once our construction is completed. So based on our proposed timelines there, we're looking at a June completion. So in theory, we would start getting that money back in July. And so the benefit here is that these developers would then have to pay once our construction is completed of the intersection. So we've constructed the intersection, the MTO has invoiced the municipality, and then we can turn around and re-invoice that back out to the developers, the beneficiaries. And then, you know, hopefully the other tangible benefit there is that they then have some financial stake in the game and some incentive to move in terms of development of their sites. If that was unsuccessful, an opportunity would be to amend the area specific development charge for that site. Prior to amendments under the Development Charges Act, they only had a 5-year shelf life. That is now 10. So our current ASDCs are set to lapse. The OPF one is this year, and then in 2025 would be the ASDC for this site specifically. So if we were unsuccessful on the front-ending agreement, we would look to amend the area-specific development approach, and then that way the costs that have been incurred for servicing extension across the highway, as well as servicing that runs north-south along Millennium Way, and then for the Durham Street extension, we would add these costs to that. And if that were the case, the opportunity to look at the external borrowing that we did for the existing works, we took out a loan in the range of 4.25 million and have only actually used just shy of 2 million on that. So we would look to leverage funds that way on a interim basis until development was triggered and recuperation happened. So that's a long ramble. But back to, I guess, kind of the premise of what we would prefer, and that's the front-ending agreement to minimize the additional financial risk and exposure to the municipality.
Councillor Hinchberger, please.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. It won't personally change my vote on the matter, but when the stub is built east of 21, does it extend far enough that pedestrian access across 21 at the Russell Street intersection will allow people to go basically into the Meridian Sobey area without having to just go across the highway and then walk north along the east side of 21?
So through you, Mayor Craig, they would essentially come to a dead end. You know, they would have to walk through the field, which I guess in theory they could, but realistically, yeah, they would have to walk along the highway in the short term.
Councillor Blackwell, please.
Thank you. Through you, this may be a relevant question, it may not. In our cycling master plan, it looks at using a in boulevard multi-use path for Russell Street. Is that something that when we're looking at designing, or MTOs designing that intersection, that we're considering active transportation beyond just pedestrian access?
So through you, Mayor Craig, I don't recall that we've had that discussion with the ministry previously, but it's something we can certainly raise. I do know that, you know, from that master plan, the Durham Street location primarily did have, you know, that type of infrastructure incorporated into the plan. So we can take a look back at Russell and share that conversation with MTO and see what opportunities there are.
Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you, and through you, Adam, good presentation. You probably know that I can't support this 100%. I see you shaking your head. You're there. The East Leg really bothers me, mainly because, you know, I was through the 2020 and everything else, and we thought we had a good step moving forward with the investment. Smart Center has not done anything for us and brought anything to the table. How much is the East Leg part of this proposal? How much is it going to cost us? Because there's a risk associated, because the front end agreement isn't signed, and I'm not so sure that Smart Center is going to sign it. So what is that cost? And then I'll have another follow-up question, please.
So through you, Mayor Craig, the estimate provided by the ministry is, in round figures, is $1 million. I think the previous estimate was $1 million and change, so.
Okay.
Sorry, just a minute, Councillor Stewart, just for clarification, is that the total cost or the municipal cost?
So through your, Mayor Craig, that is the total municipal cost for the east leg. So that's any turn lanes, the stub, et cetera. Any other improvements to the intersection that the ministry was already planning, such as signalization and anything to do with the existing quadrants of the intersection, would be their expenditure.
Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you very much. And through you again, it's a big cost again. You know, we got $1 million plus into it already. We even have some borrowing money for another 3 million. We put another $1 million. I really need you, Adam, to do your best to get a front end agreement. I just can't support, I can support everything about this except the east leg at this current moment. And I'm not sure if I can do a friendly amendment to try to remove the east leg until we get a front end agreement. I'm not sure if that's possible. Thank you.
So we need somebody to comment a little bit on that before we go further. Can you explain why we could or could not do that, please?
So through you, Mayor Craig, the purpose or the intent of presenting council with these agreements here this evening is to position the ministry to advance their tendering process for the upgrades at the intersection. If we were to be in a position to support these, they would naturally be able to proceed as they're planning. If there is any type of delay in what we're planning to do here, we would have to have discussion with the ministry on opportunities to potentially augment their procurement process. An example in my mind would be to see if the east leg components could be listed as provisional items in a tendering process to allow us to close out our component.
CAO, please.
Just for clarification as well, I don't think you could direct us to enter into the agreement at this phase, because that is what is being proposed is what is part and parcel of the actual agreement. So it would just be deferring if that was the decision.
Councillor Hinchberger, please.
Sorry, thank you. Through you, Mayor. It's a question to Adam. I'm not a civil engineer or anything in this, but I can imagine that we can foresee that there's going to be an east extension of Russell Street someday, whether it's this year. But I can imagine if we don't go ahead with a stub right now with drawings that are probably already prepared to include it, when we not only the cost associated with backing out of that, Boston, probably money and or time, when it comes time that we do want to build an east stub, it's probably going to cost us quite a bit more than what it would be as part of a overall MTO package for the intersection.
So through you, Mayor Craig, if we were to look at it just from today's perspective and correlating it to current dollar considerations, absolutely, in my opinion, if we were just doing the turn lanes and the east stub as a sole project, it would be higher than the $1 million if the other associated works weren't included from the MTO.
Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you for a follow-up, Adam. Thank you very much. With all due respect, I know this is a tough one, a real tough one on me. How fast can we talk, or are you talking to Smart Center about a front-end agreement? Can we push it with them and get a yes or no in a matter of a week? Or I'm not sure what stage you're at with the agreement. You know, $1 million is a 5% increase to the taxpayers. You know, it's considerable if we don't see any land development for another 4 years.
So through you, Mayor Craig, I mean, there's two vendors here. Those discussions I would hope could happen relatively quickly. We've done enough work between Mount Forest and Kincardine Ave with, I'll call them draft sample type templates that, you know, we have some good framework to work from. And our legal support has been excellent in tight turnaround. So, you know, over the next couple of weeks, I think we could have a good understanding of what their position would look like.
Councillor.
Thank you very much. And through you, Mayor, I'm sorry to be pushing this. I'm just really concerned. Adam, if we decide on council to defer this for a couple of weeks, do you think that, you said that we might have an answer. I don't want to push you too much, but it would be a lot more comfortable to get a yes or no, and then I feel more secure in supporting it. We're going to need it sooner or later. I'm just worried about the $1 million and the lack of support that Smart Center has given us in the last 4 years.
Just to incorporate that, is there some time constraints on this motion itself? Where's the time pressures for you, Director, please?
Through you, Mayor Craig. Realistically, I mean, the ministry has been trying to move this project forward for some time. Their comments are openly vague in a sense that they're hoping to do the work this year, but haven't given firm timelines. So I'm hesitant to state that I've got a time constraint. I know they want to move it forward. I know the community wants to see the project, as do we. But I think, to tie into Councillor Stewart's concerns, I don't have any reservation if council wants to defer this, and we bring it back to the meeting in March to make a decision.
I got to think about this one. I'm sorry, Adam. Let me put a friendly motion and just see what the rest of the council, because I know we need this really badly, but how about we defer this decision for 2 weeks until the first meeting of March?
For the motion, is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Blackwell, please. Discussion regarding deferral. Deputy Mayor, please.
I just wonder if that's sufficient time. Is 2 weeks realistic? I think it's just the question.
Thanks, and through you, Mayor Craig. I would suggest that we aim for the 13th. That's 3 weeks. That allows for, a couple weeks of back and forth with the developers, and then ensures that we're not holding up our clerks and that in terms of getting things into an agenda.
So the motion would be to defer to March 13th?
Correct. That's right.
Any more discussion regarding the deferral? All in favor? Opposed? And that is 4-4. So just a minute. Can you all in favor of deferral? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's carried. Okay. Okay. So this motion is deferred for 3 weeks, March 13th.
Good luck, Adam.
Number G. What's G? Golf?
It is.
South Bruce OPP Detachment Legislative Services. We need a mover and seconder that Councillor Kavanagh be appointed as the council representative of the South Bruce OPP Detachment Board. The council authorized staff to continue working with the working group, which includes clerks, deputy clerks, or clerks and/or deputy clerks from South Bruce, here in Kinloss, Brockton, and Erin Elderslie, to prepare the necessary drafts and proposals relating to the South Bruce OPP Detachment Board in anticipation of the Community Safety and Policing Act 2019 coming into effect on April 1st, 2024, and that the correspondence and resolution from the municipality of Brockton proposing to convene a transition committee related to the South Bruce OPP Detachment Board be noted and filed. Moved and seconded by Deputy Mayor Clark and Councillor Prenger. Councillor Kavanagh.
Thank you very much. And through the chair, this has been a very interesting experience for myself. I've been on the Police Services Board for a little over a year, and we've been told that this is coming down from the province any day now. So a year later, of course, to our surprise, the province comes along and says, we'd like to have this transition where we're bringing together essentially five police services boards into one, seeking some efficiencies, and we'd like to have you up and functioning now by April 1st. To that end, I have full confidence in our staff. Perhaps if our clerk would like to clarify just a little bit of what that second paragraph would entail, just to put everyone's mind at ease at what's happening here, because it certainly seems like there's a lot going on.
Through you, Chair. So yes, this has been a long time coming. We're still waiting on the finalization of the regulations for the one detachment board process. But what the working group is currently working on and what we will only be working on basically is a procedure bylaw for that board. So it's something to get that board started, a procedure for them to start working with. And as a board, they can, once they get seated, they could decide to change that procedure. But this is basically that procedure bylaw for them. The second thing that we're working on is something we'll be bringing back to council when it's finalized, is a process for how this committee will choose its 2 community members. So in talking with the province, all 5 councils have to agree on those 2 community members. So councils, not councilors, council. So the process that is being proposed by our neighbors to the north, the Grey Bruce detachment, is going to be that the 5 council members come together, do an initial vet of those people, and then bring those recommendations back to their councils. And so we'll be bringing that finalized sort of procedure back as a draft for councils to approve. And again, it will be for all 5 councils to approve those, all before April 1st, 2020.
Thank you. And through the chair, with your support and your patience, I hope that we can get through this transition period without the need of a formal committee of some kind of transition. Hopefully the staff can lay the groundwork, and then by April 1st, the 5 councillors that have been appointed by their respective councils will be meeting and working through the details of how this is going to go forward.
So just to confirm the first part of this, you are willing to remain as our representative on this new detachment board? Okay. Councillor Blackwell, you had a question, please?
Yes, thank you. Through you. In our budget, we had a line item for our police services board. And if I'm remembering correctly, at least 2 of the municipalities didn't previously have a police services board. When the funds are rolled over into the new broader detachment, is there going to be any kind of reconciliation, I guess, with the new members?
I have no intent of answering that question, but he can. So that's the answer.
Yes, and through the chair, that is all part of that fund transition process that's going to have to get worked out and negotiated between the councillors that are representing their respective municipalities as we go forward. Thank you.
So I value the input of our municipal staffs. Like I'm not suggesting they couldn't, but I appreciate the thought that our staff is putting together the procedural bylaw, but it is the council representatives who are sitting down and having the discussion and bringing back the recommendations. This is how we think we should do it. This is how we think we should do this and that and the other thing. So thank you for clarifying that, and that helps a lot. Deputy Mayor, you had a question, please.
Actually, I was just going to say I have full confidence that this transition will go really smoothly. So I wonder if we can call a vote.
All right. All in favor of the motion? Anyone opposed? That's carried. All right. Some matters for decision. We have a notice of motion submitted prior to the meeting. Yeah. So the additional items, they come in later. Yeah. So we have a provincial municipal fiscal arrangement motion moved by Beth Blackwell, seconded by Mike Hinchberger. Whereas current provincial municipal fiscal arrangements are undermining Ontario's economic prosperity and quality of life, and whereas nearly 1/3 of municipal spending in Ontario is for services in areas of provincial responsibility, and expenditures are outpacing provincial contributions by nearly $4 billion a year. And whereas municipal revenues such as property taxes do not grow with the economy or inflation, and whereas unprecedented population and housing growth will require significant investments in municipal infrastructure, and whereas municipalities are being asked to take on complex health and social challenges like homelessness, supporting asylum seekers, and addressing the mental health and addiction crisis, and whereas inflation, rising interest rates, and provincial policy decisions are sharply constraining municipal fiscal capacity And whereas property taxpayers, including people on fixed incomes and small businesses, can't afford to subsidize income redistribution programs for those most in need. And whereas the province can and should invest more in the prosperity of communities. And whereas municipalities and the provincial government have a strong history of collaboration, now therefore, be it resolved that the province of Ontario commit to undertaking with the Association of Municipalities of Ontario a comprehensive social and economic prosperity review to promote the stability and sustainability of municipal finances across Ontario, and further that a copy of this motion be sent to the Premier of Ontario, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Minister of Finance, MPP Lisa Thompson, and to the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. All in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. Motions, reschedule February 28 regular meeting motion. We need a mover and seconder. The council approve an exemption to section 11(1)A of the Municipality of Kincardine Procedural Bylaw number 2023-138 to permit the regular council meeting on Wednesday, February 28th, 2024 be rescheduled to Wednesday, March 6, 2024 due to scheduling conflict. Moved by councillors Hinchberger and Blackwell. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Consideration of bylaws. Kincardine Kinloss Municipal Drain Bylaw. We need a mover and seconder that Kinloss Municipal Drain Branch A be deemed to be read a third time. And finally passed and numbered as bylaw number 2022-182, moved by councillors Deputy Mayor Clark and Steinoff Gray. All in favor? That's carried. Municipal Access Agreement with Bruce Telecom, 2024 bylaw. Need a mover and seconder that the Municipal Access Agreement, Bruce Telecom bylaw be deemed to be read a first, second, third time, finally passed and numbered as bylaw number 2024-15. Moved by councillors Hinchberger and Deputy Mayor Clark. Would you like to speak to this just really briefly while I get a drink of water?
Certainly through you, Mayor, the access agreement is consistent with the share purchase agreement that the municipality agreed that we would enter into this type of an agreement. Essentially, it's reflecting what's already happened, but making sure that it's noted that the infrastructure is in the ground. If there was new infrastructure that was coming into place from some other telecommunications service provider, you would enter into a similar type of an agreement. But also to note that federal legislation pretty much requires that we do allow that infrastructure in our right-of-ways.
All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Maintenance repair of municipal drain bylaws. We need a mover and seconder that the following bylaws are hereby read first, second, and third time, finally passed this 14th day of February 2024. The Holtby Municipal Drain Maintenance Bylaw, Kennedy Municipal Drain Extensions Maintenance Bylaw, Kennedy Municipal Drain Huron Extension Maintenance Bylaw, Kincardine Kinloss Municipal Drain Maintenance Bylaw, Kincardine Kinloss Municipal Drain Kinloss Maintenance Bylaw, and the Norm MacArthur Municipal Drain Maintenance Bylaw. Moved and seconded by Councillor Steinoff Gray and Councillor Hinchberger. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, motion to pass bylaws. We need a mover and seconder that the following bylaws are hereby read first, second, third time, finally passed this 14th day of February 2024. Designate CIP Areas Bylaw 2024, CIP Policy Adoption Bylaw 2024, amend Zoning Bylaw 1397 Concession 9 MacArthur Bylaw, award tender number 9417 Kincardine Kinloss Drain Improvement Bylaw, Traffic and Parking Amendment Bylaw, and the Russell Street improvement, and the Russell Street will be deferred. Thank you for that reminder. Moved and seconded by Councillors Steinoff, Gray, and Prenger. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. the Brown McCullough Airport Hangar Lease Transfer Bylaw. This is the addition to the agenda. We need a mover and seconder that the Brown McCullough Airport Hangar Lease Transfer Bylaw be deemed to be read first, second, third time, finally passed and numbered as bylaw 2024 something. Moved and seconded by councillors Blackwell and Stewart. Clark, could you just explain roughly what this bylaw does for us?
So basically, we have existing hangar leases, and Corey can jump in if I'm doing this wrong, but basically we have existing hangar leases, and section 16 of the existing agreement states that the tenant may assign the lease provided that the landlord has provided written consent. So we as the landlord need to consent for them to transfer their lease to another leasee.
Any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. This would be an appropriate time to take that bio break. We will reconvene in 6 minutes in closed session to receive. We won't be in closed, but we will need a motion to move into closed at that time. So anyone who is here that is not needed to be here, Dwayne, you can go home now.
So are we going
So we are
come back out and do consent? So we're going to go into closed and then we'll come back out and do consent.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just
still live.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Welcome back, folks. We're going to start with our consent agenda. No, we're still in open session. Once our lawyer comes online, then we will move into closed. So at this time, we have the consent agenda, and once again, items listed are considered routine unless any councillor would like to pull one for consideration either this evening or at a future council meeting. And
the Super Bowl final between the Chiefs and the Niners. You ready for more predictions today?
I am. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, fantastic. We're going to talk about football. Lots to talk about football. But before we do that, the NHL season is underway again, the second half, quote unquote, after the All-Star festivities. Hey, Spencer, what'd you think of the All-Star festivities in Toronto?
If you think I watched any bit of the All-Star game, you're out of your mind. I was as vested as Nikita Kucherov was, as Leon Draisaitl was. I had no interest. Football was taking my attention. The attack and their big week at home took my interest. The NHL got put in the rear view mirror, back into the view as second half starts, as you said, Manny, and the Boston Bruins continue their crusade through the Atlantic division as I try to choke it out.
Wow. Lucas, did you watch the All-Star festivities? Any of it?
I did not. I'm with Spencer on this one. You know, the NFL took the front seat there, as well as the attack. You know, working alongside Rogers TV doing that, and I was also busy in Kitchener for part of the weekend as well. So I didn't get to see much of it, unfortunately.
Mark, tell me you saw some of this.
I did. I actually watched most of it, guys. And I don't know why. Maybe it was the curiosity of it being in Ontario, being in Toronto, but I was very interested in how everything would play out. And I thought the NHL did a great job. And based on the numbers that are coming out when it comes to the viewers, sounds like it was a pretty big hit in Canada, not so much south of the border in the US. Got a couple theories on that, possibly because it wasn't in a US city. Maybe too, it was everything being on, you got it on the Thursday, the Friday night, then a Saturday afternoon. Maybe that's not the best spot for it, but the way the NHL mapped it all out from the player draft on Thursday night, they honored the 67 Leafs. I thought that was done very, very well. And then the skills competition, the new format. I know everybody had a thought on how that was going to play out. Other than probably needing to speed it up a bit, I really like it. I would imagine that's here to stay when we do have a skills competition. And I thought with the 3-on-3, the players took a little more pride than when they were, with the draft, I should say, than when they were playing for their divisions. With their divisions, you're just slapped together. Here you go. When you had the player draft, there's a little bit of ego, I think, at the end of the day, and coming together with some of your buddies as the teams were selected, certainly with those clicks. So all in all, I think the NHL has to be thrilled with what went on, and I really enjoyed it.
JC, how about you?
I wish I could have caught a little bit more. Just as I was heading out the door on Saturday to drive to the Bayshore, I caught the last couple minutes of the McKinnon-McDavid game, which was all you needed to see for Connor McDavid. He only needed about 1:10 to score 2 goals and eventually win that game and get on to the finals. The skill, everything that's highlighted as part of the All-Star game is great. Really, who it's designed for, isn't guys like me that are now in their 40s. It's for kids. It's for kids to see their hockey heroes do amazing things, which is why it was a little bit disappointing to see Nikita Kucherov's performance at the skills competition, because that wasn't what it was all about. It was also weird having seen that, also getting emails of like, do you want to bet on the All-Star game? I'm like, I don't think this is something you should be betting on, because based on Nikita Kucherov's performance, I'm not sure everybody's all in on this thing. So that obviously leaves a few questions for the NHL. And the criticism of speeding up too, I've heard that. Mark alluded to it. It could have been done a little bit quicker, but Gary Bettman did say during his one-on-one with Ron McLean, which is always great to watch at the All-Star game. He mentioned, we got to tear things down and set things up, and we only have one ice surface, so it does take time to get all of this done. But overall, I thought it was a good showing. The NHL looked really good. Having the honorary captains, the celebrities there, I think was a big part of it and brought some more attention to the game. And overall, not a bad showing in Toronto.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't mind it. I didn't get to watch a lot of it either. However, from what I did watch, I thought they did a pretty good job. I do like the addition of these celebrity captains for the fantasy draft. I understand why it started a little bit earlier, because on ESPN they wanted to get it on ESPN, and they didn't want to compete with college basketball, which starts at 7 o'clock on ESPN, so they wanted to get that done early. But for the Canadian audience, that was fine. They just replayed the whole thing on Rogers Sportsnet, no matter what, on that Thursday night. Mark, I'm interested to hear your take on the attendance figures and the discrepancy between Canada and the US.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because we're at a weird time of the year where it's that dead week between the conference championships and the Super Bowl. And I really feel like a lot of the sports world kind of goes on a pause and everyone's just waiting for the big game. Is the All-Star game? Well, here we go. We've got 5 people on here, and it seems for the most part, no one really watched it from start to finish. So it's not necessarily appointment viewing. Maybe it is almost served better, as you just said, Manny. When you can catch the replay, you hear about something that happened, you can go and check it out, or you find it on social media. So I think at the end of the day, it's just meant as a showcase for the league. The stuff that is very interesting to me, and I wonder how much value they put on it, is the amount of content that you find on social media continuing to be pumped out. The various podcasts, the various influencers, content creators. I mean, this is as big a weekend as there is at any point in the NHL season for people like that to come together. And then now they're going to be promoting the game for weeks to come on their various channels. So I would have to think the league measures those metrics in some way, shape, or form. And I think it's probably got some pretty strong value, maybe even more than what the TV ratings might say.
It is an interesting debate, and I will say that I thought all the content creators, including the NHL, over the course of the festivities, did a great job pumping everything out on social media for those people who don't have cable and have broken or have cut the tie with cable that way. Now, it was mentioned a couple of times, Spencer, you prefer the Pro Bowl over the NHL All-Star Game. Where's your hot take on that?
I'm on neither. The Pro Bowl is now become a flag football game, which is, again, at that point, why are you even playing it? Myles Garrett got hurt last year in the Pro Bowl in the flag football event. I just don't think I don't think it's valuable to the NFL, in my opinion, the Pro Bowl. The NHL, maybe, with the All-Star game, baseball's All-Star game, I think it's just boring. The NBA's All-Star game, boring. So I'm a fan of none of them. I wish they just said, here's the award, you're the All-Star, you get the bonus, you get the incentive in your contract, but I don't think the game is important, because the guys take it importantly, as you guys talked about with Kucherov. It's not important to the guys. So maybe if they put an incentive, if the winning team gets, a certain amount, but I know it's kind of sad, but maybe that's what they have to do, is start incentivizing the players to play in it, because at this point, I don't think anybody really cares about the All-Star game in any sport.
So I think the All-Star festivities in all the major sports are more about sponsorship, right? And keeping the sponsors happy, keeping everyone happy that way. You see some of these gimmicky things because they're trying to make it attractive to the fans. I will give the NHL credit because they saved some big announcements for NHL All-Star Weekend, including the Four Nations Cup and their participation in the upcoming Olympics. So I thought they did a good job of controlling the media announcements then. But, Spencer raises a point, and I'll dish this out to everyone. We'll start with you, Lucas. Of all the All-Star games, NHL, Pro Bowl, NBA, which is coming up not this weekend, but next weekend, of all the All-Star festivities, the game and the extracurricular activities around it, Lucas, is there one that you prefer?
Wow. I haven't really been able to watch too much All-Star festivities for any sport over the last few years, and it hasn't really, pulled me in either. But maybe I just go with the little NHL All-Star Game tournament that they have. A few games for the teams. I think it's really interesting. I think it is interesting how they go about it. I was able to watch some of the drafts, so I kind of knew the players that would be playing. And as one you mentioned earlier, having the clicks there made sense. I mean, of course, you had Matthews, and he went with three straight leaps off the draw, which made a lot of sense. But yeah, I think that it would have to be the NHL All-Star Game itself. I haven't really paid too much attention to the skills competitions. I think that over the next few years, maybe I'll tune in a little bit and kind of see what I think. Maybe next year, if they kind of continue with the same route that they did this year, I'd be interested to see how that plays out.
Of all the All-Star festivities, JC, NBA, NHL, NFL, which one do you prefer, if any at all?
I would say of the ones that I've consistently watched the most, it would probably come down to the NHL and the MLB. And I might give a bit of an edge to the MLB just because they haven't really had to change much about that All-Star game. The home run derby is still the home run derby. It's still the pinnacle of that whole event. And then the game itself, I mean, up until recently, whoever won the game, that was home field advantage for the World Series. So at least there was something on the line. And in most of those All-Star games for MLB, things are pretty close. Like it's a pretty close game that, you don't have to worry if you give your all that you might get hurt, where NFL, NHL, NBA to an extent, you do have to worry about injury. So you're not going to quite get 100% from all the athletes. So that's the other thing you have to run with. I like the idea of bringing in the Four Nation tournament. I think it's something a little bit different. It sets up the scene for international hockey a little bit better. I would love if they brought back like the World Cup of Hockey or the Canada Cup. And if that was an option instead of the All-Star game, I'm 100% on board for it. Let's do a best on best tournament because the Olympics every 4 years are not a guarantee for the NHL. So if that was an alternate, yeah, I'd want to see that. But at the same time, it's the injuries. They're going to worry about the injuries, and teams are not going to send out star players in the middle of a season with a potential they might not see them back for the rest of the year.
You mentioned the Four Nations Cup, which I love, but I think it's sort of a slap in the face that other countries don't get to participate in it. For example, there's a game in Boston and Pasternak's not going to play because Czechia is not involved. That just seems backwards to me. Mark, no love for the NBA or the slam dunk contest or the three-point competition. Is there an all-star festivity you prefer, Mark?
I agree with JC. I think it definitely is the MLB, and it just comes down to, again, it's not a contact sport per se. You can play it pretty much in its purest form, whether that be a regular season playoff game or an all-star game. And the home run derby is very simple. Who doesn't love watching the long ball? The slam dunk contest was always much must see for me when I was a youngster, but I remember Vince Carter winning it and putting the ball between his legs, and then that just took it to new heights. And then we got to a point where what new creative ideas can you come up with? At this point, it's pretty tough to find anything new. And now we've got players who don't even play in the league participating in it. So at this point now, all-star games, again, we're always going to hate them, I think, for the most part. But you're right. It serves a purpose, sponsorship, new fans, yada, yada, yada. The list goes on. MLB probably, though, is as close as it gets to pure form.
Spencer, I'll get you a chance to weigh in. Which one do you like the best?
I'm gonna go with probably none of them, but if I had to pick one that I say I actively paid attention to would be NFL because football is my number one sport. But Like, the Pro Bowl never really interests me because, like, obviously, again, the physical contact, the guys don't take it seriously. Like, when one of the best Pro Bowl clips ever is Sean Taylor laying out a punter on a fake punt because he actually threw a hit, that's kind of the antithesis of why the Pro Bowl kind of sucks. Is because one of the best moments is just a football play in any other game. Baseball, I agree with you guys, is the most truest to its sport because of the lack of contact. I'll be honest, I'd rather just see you have 9 pitchers go to hit and you have a bunch of hitters trying to pitch. You know how much fun it'd be seeing a bunch of guys throw ephyses trying to get pitchers out, trying to hit a ball, and you got Zach Greinke hitting bombs? That would be funny to me. But other than that, it just doesn't, it's not for me, doesn't interest me, and I kind of sit on the sidelines and wait for the regular season to start back up.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind Nate Dogg picking all the goalies in next year's NHL All-Star draft, right? And let the goalies play and watch Austin Matthews play goal. How about that for an All-Star game? That would be amazing. Let's move on. Let's talk about the big game, shall we? The Super Bowl pits the Niners and the Chiefs this weekend. Going to go around the horn. Tell us who's going to win and why. We'll start with you, JC.
Well, I'm going to stay with what I said last week. I'm going to keep my prediction on Kansas City. I mean, this is a team that they've won before. They know how to win. Experience means a lot in this league. I really like Brock Purdy. I've talked about him a few times. He's got that same sort of pedigree, or at least he's showing the early signs in a quarterback of, I can take a team down the field with a minute left and get a touchdown. And some of the names I throw out of guys I know that can do that: Brett Favre, Peyton Manning. Like, it's a very small class. So if he continues down that pathway, he's going to have a great career and he's going to win a few Super Bowl titles before it's all over. But it's still Patrick Mahomes' time. And I don't see them being unsuccessful in this game. It might be close, but otherwise it's the Chiefs all the way, baby.
Lucas, who you got in the big game?
I'm with you, JC. It was my prediction from last week as well. And again, it comes down to the experience. You know, the Chiefs they won last year. They've been to the Super Bowl 4 times in the last 6 years now. They have what it takes. They have what it takes to win. I said that they're going to be the first team since the Patriots in 04-05 to go back to back in the Super Bowl, but I don't think it's going to be easy. I think that the 49ers are going to put up a big fight. It's going to be a close game, but I think Kansas City takes this one.
Okay, 2 for the Chiefs. Mark, who you got?
Make that 3. I am backing the Chiefs as well. You're welcome there, Spencer Byers, because we're probably all going to mush ourselves. But for me, and again, I'm a casual observer. I don't have a rooting interest for the most part, but having watched a lot of Chiefs games this year, because again, they've been appointment viewing at times, Isaiah Pacheco, I think there is going to be the X factor at the end of the day in this game. We can give all the talk about a Patrick Mahomes, but I just, what seems like when they need that big run, and I mean, he's been electric. We know what kind of talent he is, but he can get it done in those key moments. And it felt like in all of their playoff wins so far this year, he has come up with the big play at the right time. So for me, maybe it's not the sexiest thing, but I'll go with the run game being the difference and the Chiefs just pulling out a close victory.
Okay. Well, Spencer, now's the time. Go ahead.
What's going on here? Like, is this thing on? Are you guys?
Oh, he even changed jerseys for this segment.
You think that I had this thing on under the attack jersey. I knew we were coming to football. I knew we were going to talk about the best team in football that's going to win the Super Bowl on Sunday. That's finally going to show me my final team. I'm finally going to finish the Infinity Gauntlet of seeing my teams win a championship. Niners are the last one. I'm going to see it on Sunday. The Niners are going to win, and I have no doubt about it. And no, it's not going to be a blowout. The Chiefs are a great team. Patrick Mahomes is probably the best quarterback in football. I can say easily the best quarterback in football. I love Andy Reid, one of the best offensive minds ever as a coach. But so is Kyle Shanahan. And I think the weapons for the Niners is way better than what Patrick Mahomes has. Yes, he elevates all his weapons, but they're nowhere near as good as Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. They apply, again, health for some of those guys, but regardless, the Niners are going to win. And if the running game is the difference, Mark McKelvey, Christian McCaffrey is going to be the best rusher at any point in the game, and he will win it for the Niners. So I got a lot of confidence going into Sunday, and good luck to the Chiefs, but if I'm the Lone Ranger over here cheering for the Niners, I can't wait to be right next Tuesday. Or I guess the Tuesday after.
You're talking all about offense, Spencer. The Chiefs' defense is pretty good, and just throwing that out there. You know what? I picked the Chiefs to lose against Buffalo. That didn't happen. I picked the Chiefs to lose against Baltimore. Well, that didn't happen. So if I pick the Niners, does that mean the Chiefs are going to beat the Niners? Because that might be my only saving grace here to keep Spencer quiet for the next month and a bit. So I actually am going to pick the Chiefs just because I think that's where my money's going to go on this line. Patrick Mahomes, I bet against him twice and he proved me wrong. So I can't bet against him again, and he's the difference in this game. Now, guys, let's have some fun while we have a few minutes left in the show. How about Super Bowl prop bets? Okay, so let's go around the horn. Tell me, first of all, heads or tails?
50-50 chance here, guys.
What do you think, JC?
It's got to be heads. I'm going heads all the way.
Mark?
Tails. Lucas?
Lucas?
Look like a heads guy.
Well, just because you said that, let's go tails.
Perfect.
Spencer?
Heads.
Woo! I'll go tails. I like that. Over under 47.5 for points. JC?
Over.
Wow. Okay. Mark?
I'm going to say over, although I'm pretty sure I looked this up at one time and the average point total is usually around 45 or 46. So, I mean, it's right on par, but I think the offense will be firing both ways.
Okay. Lucas?
Over. I'm going to go with over as well.
Spencer?
That's 4 for 4. I got over.
You're all on the over train. Let's go under. Let's go under to have some fun. Okay, what else we got? Who will kick the longest field goal? The Chiefs or the Niners?
Here's a question. You guys might know this better. Does this play into maybe aggressive coaching, or do you go for it on fourth some teams, or do you just take the field goal?
I think it depends on the game, right?
Yeah.
Jake Moody missed a field goal in the first quarter against Detroit. And Dan Campbell of the Lions didn't kick a field goal when maybe he should have. Mark, longest field goal.
I'll say the Niners.
Okay. JC.
I'm gonna go with the Chiefs because I think the longest for them this year is 60. So gonna go with the Chiefs.
Harrison Butker of the Chiefs or Jake Moody of the Niners, Lucas?
Let's go with the Niners on this one.
Okay. Spencer?
I think it'll be easily Butker because I don't think the Niners will trust Moody past 45 yards again if they're in a big spot. And I think Butker you can trust over 50. So I think Butker will probably kick the longest field goal.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to be kicking a field goal because it won't matter because they'll be up so big and it won't matter, right?
They're going to send Justin Reed out. They're going to send Justin Reed out to kick it, I bet.
Okay. Will Jason Kelsey go shirtless in the game?
Yes.
Lucas?
He
Yes.
will.
Okay.
Absolutely, he will.
JC?
I don't even think he's showing up with a shirt to the stadium. So no.
Exactly.
So he's going to go. So he's not even wearing a shirt. So you're going to go, no? Wait a minute.
No. No way. Everyone's going to see them man boobies.
Okay. Mark McKelvey, is Jason Kelsey going to be wearing a shirt?
Now, if we're talking about during the game, I'm saying he will be wearing it. He won't go shirtless until the Chiefs win the Super Bowl. So, I mean, it's a technicality here. But by the end of the night, yes, 1,000% his shirt is off.
Okay. Spencer, will Jason Kelsey go shirtless pre-game, during game, post-game?
I gotta be honest, I kind of with JC. I don't think he'll come with a shirt. I think we're gonna have a picture pre-game of Jason Kelsey in the parking lot with no shirt on. drinking beers with whoever, with probably the Chiefs faithful. So I'm with JC. I think no shirt.
You're all on the yes wagon.
Guys, it's not that warm in Vegas this week. For the record. It's only 13. Although I guess
That's not going to stop him. I don't think that's going to stop him at all.
He will not go shirtless.
Yeah.
Okay. I think he's going to realize that it's the Super Bowl and he's got to be good.
That'd be classy.
Oh, Taylor Swift appearances on camera. The line is 6.5.
Cool.
JC, 6.5 for Taylor Swift on camera.
Imagine being a wide receiver in this game and your receptions are less than Taylor Swift being on camera. I think, well, I mean, I guess we're all in agreement she's going to be there because she's got to come from Japan and leave her tour in order to get there. So I guess she's going to be there. I'm going to say because the Chiefs are going to win, she's probably on more than 6.5 times.
Okay, Lucas.
Over on that one as well.
Woo. Mark.
That's an over because I think they have made a conscious effort not to show her all that much in the last few games. It's the Super Bowl now. It's the biggest audience in the world. It's going to be all Taylor throughout the game.
Spencer.
I'm with JC, but the opposite. I think they're going to show her so much because she's going to be so dejected when the Niners are winning. So it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be the sad shot. It's going to be her pouting beside Brittany Mahomes or whatever her name is. So I think it's going to be Taylor Swift over again. I think they'll show her like 10 or 12 times.
You're all on the over train. I'm going under.
Ooh.
I'm going under. Let's see how that pans out. You can only show her once per quarter, right? Are you going to keep showing her more than once per quarter?
That's true. There's a lot of celebrities at the game, and I mean, you got to show Rob Lowe wearing his NFL hat a few times. So yeah.
A chicken wings consumed on the day of the game. Over under 1.4 billion.
I know how many I'm going to have, so I'm probably going to be factoring in for probably at least 15. I'll say over.
Lucas.
Wow. Let's
You've never thought of a number that big, Lucas, have you?
No, definitely not when it comes to chicken wings. No.
Over?
Yeah, I'm gonna go over.
15 seconds. JC?
Have you been to a grocery store? Are you kidding me? I can't afford wings on wing night. It's gonna be under.
Okay, Spencer.
I'll go with JC under. I can't afford wings either.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Join us on the next episode of Grey County Life. We'll learn more about the upcoming Bright Shores Hospital Foundation Ball Hockey Tournament, plus a fundraiser for Kiwanis.
And Renee will be here from the Owen Sound Animal Shelter with an adoptable animal on Grey County Life.
I am lucky to meet so many amazing women, and I hope they feel lucky to meet me.
I'm ready.
He's a hunk, sweetie. Chef's kiss. He's insane. I was mesmerized.
I'm still just Joey.
He's so handsome.
The Bachelor, all new, Mondays 8, 7 Central on City TV. This is Rogers TV.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Nimi wen nindam nanishkonan kaye pi taninzian undaje
Miigwech kijimanitu onje aki. Miigwech onje kakina awe zinjag. Miigwech onje nibi kai kakina etong wen shishing. Miigwech nesewen ka mindien kidi mino bimadien. Miigwech shkore. Miigwech onje iyo kijig kaye kakina etag kijigong gizes debe gizes kaye anagoshgag. Miigwech onje ni mshomsa ni kokomisa kakina ni dodemag. Widoka wishin giji ni bakayan. Widoka eyako zijig shawenim nebo jig kedima gizijig kaye wa wishin ijig. Miigwech onje ni mi badzuin. Miigwech.
Hello, bonjour, bienvenue au Musée canadien de l'Histoire, ici à Gatineau. Je suis Catherine Marion et je suis très heureuse de participer en votre compagnie au mini powwow du bal de neige. As part of the 46th edition of Winterlude, Indigenous Experience is organizing this Winterlude mini powwow. It is a wonderful opportunity to immerse into Indigenous cultures and traditions. In the next hour, we'll witness a variety of traditional performances that include dancing and drumming. We'll visit an Indigenous market, showcasing authentic arts and crafts, and even get to taste some food. C'est ma toute première expérience à un powwow et je suis emballée de partager cette expérience avec Rihanna White Duck, qui est ambassadrice culturelle avec l'organisation Expérience autochtone ici à Ottawa. Rihanna, bonjour, comment ça va?
Ça va bien, Catherine, et toi?
Je suis excitée.
Oh, je suis super heureuse. On est en train d'écouter un petit peu les chants des gorges qui se passent et c'est le débutant de notre petit mini powwow.
Brianna, we are in the Grand Hall in the Museum of History here in Gatineau. There are a lot of people and a lot of participants. A lot of things are happening right now. What is happening and what is a mini powwow?
Well, I'm so glad you asked, Catherine. A mini powwow, and the only reason we call it mini is because it's a one-day powwow. Usually they go for the whole weekend. However, a powwow itself is a celebration of music and dance. It's an opportunity for us to come together and to socialize, share stories, come together, visit, and prayer and movement.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Alors, on continue?
Take one, give me quick fire reactions. Winterlude is coming. It's freezing outside, but there's lots of indoor activities. Learning about indigenous cultures, the chores need to be done. But it gets the kids out of the house, speeding down the zip line, doing tons of free activities. What are you waiting for?
A message from the Government of Canada.
Eagle River, stand by for an intertribal. All right, Miigwech, Spirit Wolf. Round of applause for all of our dancers for this good intertribal. All right, ladies and gentlemen, round of applause, some encouragement to our future generation and champions. Oema. Stand by, men's traditional, stand by. 7 to 99, 7 to 99 age categories.
Donnons-leur une grande main d'applaudissement. Let's give them a big round of applause. The future is looking bright.
All right, round of applause for our Tiny Tots. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is your first time ever at a gathering, a powwow, a jintamok, where I'm from, is what we say in our Anishinaabe. This next dance is one of the oldest dances that we have in powwow country. And these are our storytellers, our warriors. And these were the men that would go out and protect the communities. They would be the hunters. So one of the things that we ask is when you watch this exhibition, you watch the stories that they tell, whether it's going to be a battle or it's going to be a hunting excursion that they have went on. These are the men of the community, and this is one of the responsibilities that these men's traditional will have.
Les danseurs des hommes traditionnels est une des danses les plus anciennes que nous avons. C'est justement une danse qui raconte une histoire. Donc, ces hommes qui partaient souvent en guerre ou faire de la chasse revenaient dans leur communauté et racontaient leurs histoires à travers la danse des hommes traditionnelle.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, these are our storytellers. They are telling their story. Tell your story, gentlemen. Dance hard, dance hard. Women's traditional, please stand by. We are going to go over to Spirit Wolf. Spirit Wolf, get a women's traditional song ready. All right, all right. Give a round of applause for our men's traditional dancers.
Grand merci à nos danseurs traditionnels des hommes. Donnons-leur une grande main d'applaudissement. So this dance actually originates from the Plains Nation. Before the people of the prairies would set up their communities, the men would stomp down the tall prairie grass to ensure the grounds and areas are safe for the people. Cette danse nous provient des plaines. Le peuple des plaines, avant de monter leur communauté, ces hommes venaient sur les terrains pour aplatir le sol et aussi pour s'assurer que le tout est sécuritaire pour les prochains danseurs à venir.
Stand by, women's jingle, stand by. Your exhibition song is coming up next.
Nous demandons aux danseuses à clochette d'être prêtes. Vous allez être les prochains.
Looking good, dancers, looking good. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you're seeing, please give a round of applause to our grass dancers.
Si vous aimez ce que vous voyez, donnez-leur une grande main d'applaudissement. Dansez fort, les danseurs, dansez fort.
Spirit will be on standby for first song for our jingle dress. Double beat crow hop time. Ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a treat here. Women's jingle on standby.
Danseuses à clochette, soyez prêtes. La danse de clochette des femmes est un des styles de danse les plus récents, mais c'est aussi un des plus respectés. Ces robes sont connues à travers l'île de la Tortue comme étant des robes qui portent beaucoup de médecine. Ces robes portent énormément de pouvoir chez les peuples autochtones et ces danseurs ont un rôle extrêmement important dans la communauté.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be doing our jingle dress exhibition here. And the story behind this particular dance comes from the northwestern Ontario. It comes from the White family up in Whitefish Bay. And one of the things that we were taught about this specific category and this dress, it was brought to the family in a dream. A young girl by the name of Maggie White happened to be sick and bedridden. And it was her family, one of her family members had that dream of this dress. So that family then created it. And they were told and given directions to put it on that young lady who was sick. And in a few days, her illness that she was going through started to subside. And it just so happened that their community in the next few days was also having their annual traditional powwow. And by the time that powwow was able to happen, that young girl, Maggie, was able to walk out and bring this beautiful healing dress to our circle. And all these women have been given those teachings or teachings similar to what I've just said. These women have a big responsibility within our community as healers. And as you can see, our co-MC McKenna is walking around giving tobacco to these dancers and thanking them. But McKenna is also giving that tobacco for prayers. And those prayers are going to be for everybody that is in attendance and those that are not. And asking for healing. These cones that are put onto this dress resemble and sound exactly like water. And in the past couple weeks, I've been talking to some of my elders and community knowledge keepers from back home and all across Turtle Island, and they had given me direction and instructions and knowledge that the land is healing, going out onto the land and being around this water, just like the river that we have just outside here. It's healing for us. These cones resemble that rain and bring that healing for all of our communities. So ladies and gentlemen, for this one, I do ask you to please rise in honor of this dress. Spirit Wolf, whenever you're ready, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise if you are able to. Ladies, Women's Fancy, stand by for your exhibition song, Women's Fancy. We're gonna go to Eagle River, stand by for that Women's Fancy song. This happens to be the Meminguas, the butterfly dance, and it's one of our newest dances in our powwow circle. Once upon a time, we had these ladies, they were wanting to compete against the men. There are times where there are competition powwows, and some of the ladies felt like that they were better than some of the men dancers out there, and they wanted to showcase how fast and how agile they can be. So then eventually they started dancing with these shawls. They would take the shawls from their arm if they were a women's traditional, and then they started putting it on their back and started creating faster movements. And they decided that this was going to be the new dance, and these Meminguans were going to be the ones to take down those men's fancy dancers. Unfortunately today, we do not have any of those men's fancy dancers. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it on over to my co-MC here, McKenna. She's going to give you that translation and let you know who the next drum is going to be to sing that song.
Donc pour la danse du châle des femmes, il y a très longtemps, les danses pour les femmes étaient très lentes et stationnaires. Mais c'est grâce à une femme qui voulait danser comme les hommes. Elle a commencé à rentrer dans des compétitions pour les hommes déguisés en tant qu'hommes. Et puis, elle a gagné ces compétitions. Donc, c'est grâce à elle que les femmes ont maintenant aussi une danse fancy, plus spécifiquement la danse du châle. Nous allons maintenant passer à Eagle River Singers pour la danse du châle.
One, two, Cree, stand by for Woodland Spotlight. All right, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for this Crow Hop song. good song. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for our fancy shawl dancers. Ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to be doing, showcasing here, it happens to be even older dance, and this comes from the Great Lakes area, from Ontario, Western Ontario, Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, that Three Fires Confederacy area, my home area. And I'm glad to see that Sonny is coming out and singing, gonna be dancing that good woodland style. As you can see, the woodland style resembles the men's traditional, but there's a few differences. The woodland dances without bustles. Bustles happen to be from a different nation. And in the woodland area, when you're running through the woods, you don't want to have too much things on you. You don't want to get caught on those trees in that woodland area. So I do believe we asked our co-host Whitetail to give that good song. Looks like that Sonny's getting some final instructions from his young gentleman there. I'm going to pass the mic on over to our co-MC to give a little bit of a description of what that woodland dance is.
La prochaine exhibition que nous allons vous montrer est le style Woodland, qui est un spécial pour Sonny Papati. Donc, le style Woodland est vraiment similaire au style traditionnel des hommes, except qu'il n'y a pas de bustle en arrière. Cette raison est parce que c'est plus facile de se déplacer dans un environnement boisé sans bustle.
Prise 1, donne-moi des réactions rapides. Le bal de neige arrive. On gèle dehors. Mais il y a de la programmation intérieure et plein d'activités gratuites. Tes amis sont pas convaincus. Il y a de l'art urbain, des sculptures sur glace, des événements de la fierté hivernale, même des spectacles et des DJ. Invite tes amis! Ah oui! Un message du gouvernement du Canada.
Dans le cadre cadre de ce mini powwow, il y a aussi un marché d'artisans autochtones où on peut voir des belles démonstrations, on peut fabriquer des choses, on peut acheter des belles choses, mais on peut aussi goûter à des choses. Allons voir ce qui se passe là-bas. Okay, Rihanna, let's go see what's happening over here. What are we doing here?
Hi, we're actually doing a competition of the best consistency of bannock dough.
Okay, bannock dough, what is that?
Well, bannock is, I don't want to say a traditional type of bread because historically where it came from, the three ingredients was the food rations that they were given to reserves for them to survive. And so they would make the bread so that they could have it for longer periods of time. Now, traditionally, the types of bread that we would have had would have been ground down birch bark and they would have used that as bread.
That is fascinating. Okay, and what's happening? We've got Camilla and Stella. Camilla, how does that feel?
It feels weird, but it's not. I think mine is coming together nicely.
Okay, so how do we know when it's coming together nicely? What are we trying to achieve?
So what we're looking for is actually like a pizza dough or a bread dough kind of consistency.
And I understand it's a little bit of a competition. Are we going to find out who wins eventually?
Hopefully, but they've been working at this for quite a bit now. We are selling these bags. They're bannock in a bag. They're actually perfect when it comes to ratios. It's 2 cups of water per mix, but they don't have those ratios, so they're just going at it as well as they can.
Well, I can't wait to find out who wins. Maybe we'll keep visiting and we'll come back later and see which one wins the prize.
Absolutely.
Is there a prize?
There's always a prize.
Okay, good. There's always a prize. Thank you so much.
Take one. Give me quick fire reactions. Winterlude is coming. It's freezing outside, but there's lots of indoor activities. Learning about indigenous cultures, the chores need to be done. But it gets the kids out of the house, speeding down the zip line, doing tons of free activities. What are you waiting for?
A message from the Government of Canada.
So we're going to have our co-MC. She's going to be actually doing an exhibition for you guys. We're going to be doing the hoop dance. So give a round of applause for McKenna Guerin. So McKenna is going to be laying out these hoops. And this dance, it comes from the southern states down in Arizona, New Mexico. And it's come up to our regions, and I would say the past 70 years, some of the first hoop dancers hail from my community. There was a dance troupe that would come up to our annual gathering when it started back in the late 1950s at the Wikwemkong Annual Cultural Festival. And those hoop dancers there gave instructions to some of our dancers. And from what I learned from my Auntie B, Shawanda, was that this hoop dance also happened to be a healing dance from down in those southern states. They would use particular type of wood down there. And in our area, we started using red willow. And those willow sticks would turn into our hoops. And these hoops represented that healing when that type of wood, they would be used in ceremony and healing. Ladies and gentlemen, this hoop dance also happens to be a storytelling dance. All of these hoops would be used to create images that the dancer would choose and that they would see out in nature. So if you see a move that McKenna does, please give her that round of applause and please give her that encouragement. of our dancers bringing out a blanket, a bandana. And on this blanket, we ask that you give, if you're able to donate, give some donations to this dancer and to the circle. It helps them get to and from powwows in our Turtle Island. So if you like what you see, please give a round of applause and feel free to donate to the cause. Round of applause. There we go, round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, 5 hoops, we got those 5 hoops up there. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. McKenna's now using all of their hoops. Yay!
Reconciliation is at the center of our lives, and events such as today's are the perfect opportunity to grow and share and build understanding. Merci, Rihanna, d'avoir partagé ce moment avec moi. J'ai l'impression que je vais le porter avec moi pour longtemps encore. Miigwech.
Alors, merci Catherine. J'espère que tu as vraiment appris beaucoup aujourd'hui. Il n'y a pas un mot pour dire au revoir. In fact, it's kind of bad luck. It's almost like you're trying to send someone to the spirit world, and we're not trying to send anybody to the spirit world today. So the word that we use in this territory is Majoshin, which means we'll see you again. Miigwech and Majoshin, Catherine.
Merci beaucoup. Merci.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
I am lucky to meet so many amazing women, and I hope they feel lucky to meet me.
I'm ready.
He's a hunk, sweetie. Chef's kiss. He's insane. I was mesmerized.
I'm still just Joey.
He's so